Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. All right, what's going on, everybody? Hey, welcome back. It's another Baby Friday is upon us, or Friday night's Eve, but goddamn, it's almost the weekend. I know it's been a little bit of shows. You've seen some of my posts. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've been out of pocket and I've been traveling a little bit. So just trying to do some family bonding time. Got to see some family overseas. But before we get into all that, let's get all the pleasantries out of the way. Hey, when was the last time you had your VA claim or your or your VA benefits analyzed? If it's been a while, then I highly recommend that you get with a VSO or maybe the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I perfectly like the Disabled American Veterans. They're a great organization. They do a lot of lobbying, and they have access to your claims. So if you're in the process, or you would like to get your compensation to be up from, if you've been stuck at 90%, 80%, or whatever it is, I highly recommend that you get one of them folks to get you where you need to be. Because if you want to get PNT, permanent and total, now is the time to do it. And if you need help with getting all that stuff done with as far as the getting that paperwork submitted, whatever the case may be, reach out to me and I'll be more than glad to be more than glad to get you going and set your face. It's not that hard. Okay. Also, let me ask you this. When was the last time, have you thought about where is that you're going to be in a few years from now financially? Maybe you're getting ready to get out of the service and you don't know what to do with that TSP, or maybe you want to open a business. Maybe you have a couple of things in the making where you don't know what to do with your money, or financially you just don't know what to do at post-service, or maybe you retire a little bit. Well, if you give some of the folks at the Money Pro, and I'll put some of that, a link to that to them, schedule a free 1-hour strategy session. I mean, it doesn't hurt. Well, they'll give you some very specific tips and techniques that you can implement for yourself, or maybe you can pass on to some of your fellow service members that will not only give you some relief and give you some strategies that you can implement what to do financially, or maybe you want to make an extra $1,000, $2,000 as well. Well, and they will give you all that good information, get you pointed in the right direction. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be working in their twilight years or be a Walmart greeter, when you're late 60s and 70s. So if that's something that resonates with you, hey, by all means, reach out to them. All right. Also, look, this show, we're all about freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, all that good stuff. In other words, I raised my hand, almost 30 years ago, good Lord, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Outright, get some. In other words, hey, that oath has never expired. So if you're all about freedom of speech and supporting, basically we can agree to disagree, then stick around, like, subscribe, and follow. Pump up my numbers right there on YouTube, people, because, while the numbers on Facebook are amazing, help your boy out right here and, help the analytics on my YouTube channel, okay? You can also find me on TikTok. So, or if you want to hear something else from sitchradio.com, support your local podcaster, go over there as well and check them out, all right? So with that being said, hey, look, last time we had an amazing individual, Amy Sai, and from Reset It, and we had talked a little bit about my experience and all that good stuff, and some of the things that I was very excited about doing it. I'm still very excited, don't get me wrong, but I brought it back so we could talk about my experience and the coaching and the things that we implemented. but also to see how am I, how am I doing after all these things. So with that being said, everybody, I'm gonna go ahead and bring Amy and add her to the stage. What's going on, Miss Amy?
Hey, how are you, Pacho? Pacho. Okay, that intro is the bomb. It's like, wow, is that really what it's like out in the field?
I know, right? Welcome back, Amy. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. It's I got to not only travel for a little bit, reconnect. Did some really cool stuff overseas with in Japan with my wife and our family over there. So it's been pretty good. So,
Nice. I
but
did see the photos. They look amazing, and you look very relaxed.
yes, yes, yeah, it was really cool. Having to my wife has been planning this trip. As I told you, we're a blended family, and she's been planning this trip for for quite some time now. So it was really cool having all the kids over there and getting, minus mine are still working and, they got their several lives, but it was really cool to be able to take some family pictures, traditional style and all that good stuff. But other than that, I mean, I've been reset, baby. I'm
All
reborn.
right. Yeah, I can't wait to dig in and hear all about your experience because we kind of didn't really chat about it, right? We did the two resets and then you
Right,
went
right,
away and here we are. So we haven't talked since. So I
right.
I, I want to know what the biggest difference that you found was for you. Like what was the before and after?
Well, look, it's like you're reading my show outlines right here. Yeah. So initially, we had met on a networking platform, obviously. So just to kind of give a brief recap to everybody, we had
Mm,
met on Alignable, which it's a great if you're a business owner and you're trying to grow a business. By the way, I get nothing from them by saying this, but I thought it was a really good platform. And in one of our networking groups, you and I had met, which in our brief 7 minute conversation, I mean, it was
mhm,
just and we had clicked because you had a lot of things that I've already researched in the past and everything. So it kind of yeah, I was like, well, I got to check this out more. And as I've shared with you, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. From the book, "You Are a Badass." By the way, if you want to read it, go right ahead, dude. I do a lot of recommendations on this show. I should get hooked up for it, man. You know what I'm saying? But yes, I have been. I struggle in the past with a couple of things, actually with several things that you know I wanted to. I guess, like you say, prune away at the shrubs, so to speak,
mhm,
and get it better. So, uh, I guess tell us a little bit about your from your side as you and I had initially met. What was it that what led you? Okay, maybe we can work on some of these things from the things that you and I had talked about.
mhm. So what was the biggest difference, like the before and after that you found? What was your experience? Did you
Uh, you
notice
know,
anything different or
and it was like certain things kind of we may call it not divine intervention, but just like that's kind of weird that just happened, so sort of things.
Mhm,
I reconnected that same day. Later on at night, a really good friend of mine who I consider very close, we kind of had fallen off for XYZ, whatever reason. It's not the point, but I still want, I was like, man, I kind of been thinking. Long story short, out of anywhere, he just calls me, hey, been thinking about you, bro. You know, uh, I know we kind of fell off because of whatever reasons, and I was like, wow, because I had been wanting to make that reconnection, but I guess maybe pride, whatever the case, didn't allow me to move forward and take that next step.
right,
And
right.
you know, so that
Yeah,
was one of the things. And the other thing was that obviously, some of the things that I do helping people out with their investments, what I do, it just, I've seen a lot of good positive things happening lately. So I don't know,
good.
yeah. So just kind of like, okay, those that's peculiar type of moments, so to
Okay.
speak.
So can we talk about, what some of the things that we resetted for you?
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think it
definitely.
was
I'm very transparent on this show
okay.
with the audience.
So it was around. Do you want to say it or do you want me to say? I think you should say it. So some of the things that we did resets on, it was around your family, right?
Right. Yes. Because I mean, whose family is not perfect?
And what was the outcome in the end? So we did all this work around your family. Or so tell me what were some of the things that you were experiencing when it came to your family?
Well, we kind of put these. Let me scoot this mic just a little bit more, so my voice comes out a little bit more crisp. Uh, we kind of like put these maybe anchors or weight on ourselves, um, or I guess responsibilities that we feel compelled to do these things when really those things aren't ours, so to speak.
Right.
Like my relationship with my brothers,
Hmm.
from my dad's widow and such. I mean, which they're all grown people. I mean, that's an example. Or you know I've always felt compelled that I got to help everybody, Mr. Fix It. I gotta resolve people. So I take on everybody else's problems, so to speak, or a friend, or whatever the case, where it's
And
okay
did
to
you
help
notice the
people out.
difference? Yeah, and did you notice a difference afterwards? So you were saying that, you kind of put this weight on yourself of having to please people like your family, your brothers, your wife around, finances and what have you. And what did you feel afterwards? Did you feel like that weight got lifted, or did you notice a difference, or
Yes, and we it's okay to say no.
Mhm, yes,
eh,
absolutely, it's okay to say no.
right. How believe me, not too far long ago, it was just like, okay, and we just kind of like, and where you're the one who ends up basically kind of feeling crummy, so to speak,
Mhm,
because you felt compelled, but it got them ahead, but
mhm.
it didn't really do anything for you. So no, I've let go a lot of that stuff, and a lot of that baggage as well. Put me first
Mhm.
before them, so to speak. And
Right.
you
Yeah, I
know
think I think the thing about when we reset these programs and conditions is that we don't necessarily feel that it's been reset until you go about life, and then you notice some changes in your life, and how people react to you, and how things change around you, right? So because programs and conditions isn't necessarily in the forefront of your brain. You just do the things that you do, and you react to the things you react, and you feel the way you feel, but you don't necessarily know what it's from. Sometimes you do, some people do, and I think for you, you did. You kind of had an idea of stuff around your family that was kind of holding you back, right? And then
right.
when we did the reset, it was the same stuff that kept coming up. And then when we did the reset, you probably, I noticed a change in you, that even your eyes were brighter, your smile was bigger, even during the reset. And maybe that's something that I would notice, but maybe that you might not have noticed in that moment until you go about life. And all of a sudden you notice, like, oh, you know what? This person reached out to me. I'm not stressing about money or the things that I need to do, or what have you. Would you say that holds true for you?
No, it totally does. And to the question, like I guess those subconscious patterns that or you call them programs.
Mhm.
um, we kind of go around, with these programs, so to speak, because that's what we think. Okay, yeah, maybe and even subconsciously, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, let me do this, or whatever. But a lot of times, that just that reprogramming doesn't mean that just because it's there that it's right. I mean, that's why, and even doing what I do on the finance side, that's why we find, there's a saying that, hey, your bank account is a reflection of your lifestyle, or what is that you do. Oh, hey, I deserve this, but do you really need it, or so to speak? Or do I need to, oh, well, let me help them out because they asked. Yeah, I'm hard, I do need my money, but let me help, those type of things. So, I mean, the changes that I've noticed in me, uh, it's like everything kind of resonates where like I feel like I'm in tune with not only with me, but I'm vibing with the rest, with my surroundings, so to speak. Does that
Right.
make any sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes totally sense. And if I remember correctly, it was the program of like it was your duty to do the things that you need to do to support your family and always do the
Right,
right thing, and that you had to do the right thing and you're putting pressure on you. And that kind of that showed up that was part of the programming around the military, right? Being in service, right? Because when you're in service, it was like you had to do the right thing. It's because you're defending the nation, and it was about defending the nation and keeping yourself alive because you're not only a veteran but a combat veteran, right? And
right,
and that kind of thinking or the way how you resonated with your family was similar kind of program as you had when you were in the military, right? Would you
right.
say, yeah, that it kind of went side, but they were kind of parallel?
Right,
And
because
then
we're also taught to be a servient leader.
mhm,
You're a servient of those who under your care. So
mhm,
you put them
for
before
you,
yourself.
for
No,
yourself.
not only, I mean, that goes physically, mentally. Heck, even medically. I mean, there were countless of times where I was like, no, hey, my Marines come first, or or my family, or this, or whatever else. And that
Mhm,
created that in a previous lifetime, in a previous relationship. uh,
mhm,
there was a lot of friction because of that,
because of
where
that.
now, being on this, I was like, oh, well, maybe those choices weren't the best, where I'm learning to be more conscious of that as well.
Right. So the program of the being in service, after leaving service, it showed up in your day-to-day life, right? In terms of ensuring it was all about like you got to do the right thing, you have to make sure you support your family, and it was all about like being of service to your family.
Right,
And that was causing you some like stress, would you say that would be true? Yes, stress, right? Like
right,
work,
right.
like that you weren't doing enough to please them. It wasn't enough. And then when we did the reset, would you say that that was less, you were feeling less of it?
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, we're very performance driven. Like, hey, what's the next goal, the next, bag, hoorah, get some, and which is, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Um, that's positive fuel, but a lot of us, we tend to, take it to that next level where it's borderline, or even I guess I dare to say unhealthy pressure,
Hmm.
to the point where it kind of, we just kind of get zoned in, drawn out, and that leads to isolating those that,
Hmm.
that care for us, or we care for them, you
Hmm.
know
Hmm.
so yeah, so
And
I mean, there's been I've learned to shift, uh, and let go of some of, like, case in point, I've been studying really hard for, some of these licenses, and, in the
mhm,
industry, and so on and so
that's right.
forth.
Yes.
Well, whereas in a different way, I would have just muscled through, even though I felt I didn't feel ready. I was like, well, you know what? Let me just go at it and stick to and see if it sticks. My wife was, she was like, hey, if you don't feel ready, it's okay not to take, postpone that exam. That way
Mhm,
you don't lose. Because if you take too many, in this example, if you take too many exams, now you just lost, and now you can't wait a month. You got to wait 6 months. So I just made this say, you know what? I'm just going to pay I guess, the penalty fee, so to speak,
mhm.
bite the bullet, keep studying, but prolong the exam, so that way I don't lose, I don't waste a chance,
Yes.
and when I take it, I'm ready.
Right. Right. So what happened in the end? 'Cause I know there was some stuff around studying for the exam, right?
Right.
So what did you decide in the end?
No, I went ahead and right, and that was the reason why I was running late. I was doing something else, but today, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna postpone the exam, and I'll go ahead and take it. Sometime in January when I know even though I've been studying my butt off, but I know that uh, I'm more. I feel that much more confident to be able to take that exam and pass it basically at the
Good.
end of the day. Yeah.
Good. Right. So now you felt like you made a better choice for yourself versus feeling pressured to do it even though you kind of didn't want to or you feel like you weren't ready.
Right. Right. Let me ask you this. I mean, so I'm sure I know you deal with a lot of veterans, but what do you think makes the reset approach so effective? I guess with us with my community,
Mhm.
um, as well as service members.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. It's because, like we all pick up programs and conditions, whether it like right, wrong, good or bad, like it or not, right? Or
Right.
maybe it worked for you at one point, but it doesn't serve a purpose anymore. And for people in service, when they're trying to transition out or they're trying to overcome or trying to overcome some of the experiences they've had while during service, and they're having challenges going back into civil life. Is that what you call it? Civil, what do you
Yeah,
call it? Like
civilian life. Yeah.
civilian life. That's the terminology, civilian
Yeah.
life. And this makes a transition much smoother and easier because it's these programs and conditions of the military world. And then and then you're trying to transition into the civilian world. They kind of don't match, right? They're so different. And that's what makes that transition hard for so many people. So when you do the reset and you reset these programs and conditions that no longer serve you, aka the military life that you've had doesn't serve you anymore, because that's not how civilian life operates. It makes that transition a lot easier, along with the experiences that you're trying to let go, because I think a lot of people have had experiences that they wish maybe they didn't have, when it comes to service. And they don't want to be, they're having challenges that way, and these are all just programs and conditions or reactions to the program of the military life that they're having, and the reset can certainly help with that, for sure. And the thing is whether you reset around military or reset around, let's say around food, right? The way we work at it, it's the same, right? Because it's resetting a program that doesn't serve you, regardless of what that program is. So the approach is the same, and the outcome is the same. That you're resetting them, the stuff that no longer serves you.
No, and I think
Would
you
would
know
you
this.
based on would you based on your experience that you had with the resetter program recommend it to your community?
No, I mean, yeah, I definitely would. I mean, again, a lot the military, the VA, and those organizations, they're doing a lot. I mean, and it's come a long way. When I first came in, or even by the time I was getting out, transitioning out of the service,
Mhm.
there's a lot of resources out there that therapists, counselors to talk and get that stuff out. However, that is just not because it's not a one size fits all per se. You got to try different tools, and I think the approach, getting down to to the program,
Mhm.
beyond just the frontal lobe and going to that down to that subconscious level. I mean, yeah, it definitely will help, because a lot of times, and again, nothing against those other organizations, for lack of better words, or maybe not enough research is being done on their part right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of like putting a band-aid on the problem, and okay, yeah, well, let's fix
Constantly
this
putting a
right here.
Band-Aid. It's
Right,
constantly putting the Band-Aid on. And
right.
that's the traditional approach, is you have a tool and you're constantly putting a Band-Aid on. So that's the tool that they give you, is the Band-Aid. So we know when it gets wet, it starts to peel off. And then all of a sudden you got to put another Band-Aid on. That's the traditional method when it comes to therapy. The difference between that and the reset it is that you're actually resetting the program's condition. So in other words, you're bringing yourself back to the state of presence or natural state. So if you have children, or if you've been around kids, you see when they're born, they're in the state of presence. You see when they're 1, when they're 2, when they're 3, when they're 4, they're in that state of presence. That's because in the state of presence, there is an absence of programs and conditions. So, but when we get older, we pick up programs and conditions, school, around our parents, our school, our choices in the workplace, and so on and so on. And that's what those programs and conditions come from. So when you reset that, you're bringing yourself back to that natural state of the state of presence, much like when we're babies, right? So that is, then when you're in the state of presence, everything is there is no negativity. There's nothing. It's just, when you see babies, they are just who they are. They are a pure, I don't even know how to say it. They're just, you can just see it in their eyes, right? Like that pureness of them. So that's what resetting programs and conditions is all about, is resetting ourselves back to that original state. And it's always been there. It's just we've put these layers of programs on top of us, and we're trying to peel them off by doing things like traditional therapy, when in fact all we're doing is just putting Band-Aids on. So those layers aren't coming off. And that's why they don't necessarily work long-term. They might work long-term in the sense that you always have a Band-Aid that you can use. But with the Reset It program is that once you trim off a branch, that's it. You don't have to reset those things anymore.
No,
it's a long-term solution versus a short-term Band-Aid, right?
No, and I think, well, I mean, we could have hours conversations. It's why would the medical industry, and again, we're not trying to take on big pharma right now. I'm just saying that it would make more sense to keep people on meds. When I was taking a lot of antidepressants and all kinds of, I mean, it's much easier to do that rather than just go to, okay, hey, let's fix the problem.
Yeah. Well, you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what's
Right.
out there until, and like you said, is like, when you're ready, the teacher will come. Right. And that's much like for me too. I've been asking the same questions for a long time. And sure enough, the Reset It program fell on my lap, and I knew it the moment I saw it. I was like, this is it. And sure enough, it was it. And then I've been practicing, I've been teaching this method along with 11, or there's 12 of us, along with the founder. And we teach this method to, as many people as we can, because what we want to share, that we don't have to live this way, that there is a solution to whatever it is that we're feeling. Right. And people think that, and people want change, because that's why the coaching industry has just exploded. And people are looking for something, right? But the traditional method, which is what I used to teach as a health and fitness coach, was the long way. You do that new thing over and over again until it becomes a new habit. Yeah, well, you know what? For some things it might work, but for other things that are really ingrained in us, these programs, they're very hard. It's very hard. We can all agree that change is hard. And
yeah,
this
it is.
and this is the most effective method, and the most effective in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of money investment. And I've spent thousands of dollars on coaching and programs and what have you. And I can say honestly that this is, yes, the fastest, the most effective, the most cost effective, and the least amount of time there is when it comes to resetting programs or resetting things that don't belong to us.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. And I guess I would say to my community, so to speak, that, because I've asked these questions to myself, why do I act this way? Why do I do this? And this is post you've already annihilated somebody verbally, or you kind of shut down. And as somebody used to call me, I went Mr. Spock. In other words, very cold, and kind of just went internal,
Mhm.
to myself, where you're kind of like, okay, why am I even, why do I act this way? Or, why did I just yell at this individual? Or, why am I so upset or so mad where I'm not talking to anybody? So if you've ever found yourself asking those questions to any of my fellow veterans or even service members, where if and you're looking for answers per se, I mean, yes, I would 100% recommend them to get with you. I mean, it's the hardest part, and it's not cliche, but the hardest part is taking that first step, because you never know when you're going through those process, whether it's therapy, and in this case, you don't know what's going to come up too at the same time, like, oh, hey, shit, I didn't know I had to
But was it a
deal with
hard
that.
experience? Was it a hard experience to go through during the reset it?
Honestly, no. There was more. I was like uh, I was more scared. I was like, man, what shit is gonna come out? What's gonna start floating on the toilet bowl, so to speak?
Yeah, and
But
and yeah, go on.
it really wasn't. It was just for me, because everybody's different. But for me, I kind of already knew. Okay, hey, these are the things that I've been somewhat. I know that I've been struggling with these things, and I need to resolve these things, or learn to walk away from them, because at the end of the day, as Austin Power would say, it's not my bag, baby. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so the hardest, and anticipation of death is worse than death itself.
Right,
I guess
right.
that's very,
And my,
very
and my point of
unfortunate.
asking is exactly that, like even when I did it, I was like, okay, in the end, I was like, oh, that's it. It wasn't, and I would have to say that that's the case for most people when I do the reset with them. They're like, wow, that was cool. So, because they feel like either skeptical or they're kind of fearful, like they're not sure what to
Yeah.
expect or what might come up, right? And in the end, they're like, oh, that's it. Oh, wow, I feel so much better.
What would you, I guess, to not just to veterans, but anybody, even family member, whatever, whoever, to our listeners, what would you say to them who are kind of hesitant, um, to explore, hitting that reset button, so to
Hmm.
speak? What would you say to them?
Yeah, just book a call and let's just have a chat and just see if it's, if it's for you or not. I mean, you don't know until we have a conversation. That's really what it boils down to, right? And when you have a conversation, then you can decide if now is the time or if it's not the time, right? Because some people are ready and some people just aren't, and that's okay. And that is okay, right?
Yeah, no, I do, and that's the same thing you told me,
Mhm.
because obviously, being business minded, I was like, hey, so tell, and you're like, no, hey man, you were like, hey man, we're just having a conversation, bro. Very, very chill. Take a hit, relax, dude. But it was kind of like that. I was like, oh, I'm like, oh, okay. So we're just, it was very
Yeah,
organic, and I was like, but again, I know the type of work that I'm very familiar. I'm familiar with other individuals that I follow on Instagram. So from the beginning, I knew that, okay, this is a great. I knew that it was a good fit, because I'm familiar with that type of work, and I'm open to obviously doing the legwork. So
right.
I'm very pleased that this. I know this is not. There'll be other sessions, because obviously they're saying, maybe I should work on these other things. So we're definitely gonna be stuck to the hip, so to speak.
Awesome.
You could
Awesome.
be, you could
Happy,
be my
happy
little
to hear
Canadian Buddha,
that.
Yoda from you know,
Yeah.
obviously I'm Luke Skywalker because I'm a nerd like that. But Amy, so where can again, where can people find you? I know I get your website and all that stuff on the show description, but are you on
Yes.
social media? I know you're on LinkedIn, but where else can people find you?
Yeah, I think the best place is to come to the website, and to
Okay.
learn about what it is that we do. There's all kinds of videos and short articles on there that you can read. And more importantly, there's 12 of us on that webpage, and you'll be able to see all of us, including me and the founder. And you can click on any one of us to have a chat, have a conversation. We're all available to have that conversation. So you can decide if it's me or if it's Mark or it's somebody else or Lynn or Holly or Tracy or Laura. You can choose which one you want to speak to, and we can go from there. But the website is reset-it.ca. Reset-it.ca. So it's reset-it.ca.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Amy, it's been a true pleasure having not only having to connect with you on the other social platforms, but I think this I know this I mean this is a lifelong friendship. I'm very thankful and glad for us to have linked up and for the things that you've done for me thus far.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank you. It's been
definitely
real.
connect and we'll have some awesome chats. But thanks again. I really appreciate it. And
Thank
yeah, we
you.
look forward to having some more different reset it chats, baby.
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks again, Pacho. It's been a real pleasure as well.
Likewise. Thanks, Amy. Well, everybody, hey, look, it's by the way, like Amy said, please, it's all on the show description. Make sure you go ahead and check it out. Be open to it. Have a chat with it. If you're ready, fantastic. If not, then that's okay too. Maybe right now is not the time. Because at the end of the day, look, for a lot of us that we struggle with a lot of residual stuff from our military careers, we need you know, while the things and services and still please utilize the VA, and if you're still on active duty, by all means use those resources. However, there are other alternative ways that, it's not just a band-aid, but you can actually get down to the nitty-gritty and to the root cause and be able to grow and be better of it. And if you've been struggling with rumination, um, going down into that dark hole, kind of feeling yourself like you're, that place where you can't get out of, I would highly not only give me a call or reach out to a buddy, but I would highly recommend, talking to Amy, going down on her website, because at the end of the day, look, nobody wants to talk, give a eulogy at your funeral. Nobody wants to, say nice things about you, now that you're gone, because you probably were an asshole anyways. But I mean, all kidding aside, look, uh, we want you here. That's it. No amount of ice bucket push-up challenges, hiking for a month or whatever the case. None of that stuff is going to bring you back. It's you being here and talking to somebody, asking for help. That's what's going to keep you around. And if you haven't heard from a buddy in a while, I want you to do a buddy check this weekend and just say, "Hey, man, I'm just doing a buddy check." And then make them do a buddy check, and just let's keep that chain going forward. Because at the end of the day, we just we can't keep losing brothers and sisters just over suicide. Okay, so I think this is a good place to index things over here. So with that being said, everybody, hey, I'm out. Ice Tomas, Dice the Key, and Dex. See you next week. Later, everybody. Bye bye. Hello.
There you are.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the button, so my outro took a little long.
Where's
'Cause,
Brian?
well, actually, Brian gave me permission to basically drive my own train, so to speak. So yeah, it's
Good for you.
yeah.
That's great.